Hi, I'm Sean with Catalina Rug, and in this video we're going to be covering 3 common Persian rug designs. So we'll be going over floral design, geometric design, and Herati design. We'll be going over all of the subcategories within each of these main categories of design. We'll try to show you different examples of what these designs look like. We'll also talk about the types of rugs that you can find for each of these designs. So for example, if you're looking for, let's say, like floral medallion design, you can find it in like Tabriz or Sarouk or the different types. And we'll be also giving you some decoration tips for each of these types of designs. So if you want to learn more about all the variations of designs that are common in Persian rugs, and also find out what types of Persian rugs you can find for each of these designs, and I think this video is going to be very helpful. So stick around, and all that is coming up now. So let's talk about floral design Persian rugs. So floral design is one of the most common types of designs used in Persian rugs, and you're going to especially see this in Persian rugs that are from cities, like traditional Persian rugs that are made in cities. And this would include Tabriz, Sarouk, Kashan, Kerman, Nain, Isfahan. So pretty much most of the rugs that are made in the cities and in workshops, they're gonna have floral design a majority of the time, although they do come in other types of designs as well, but the floral design is most popular. What's really interesting about the history of when floral design began to show up in Persian rugs is that it started showing up in the 16th century. Although the floral motifs were actually available to the rug weavers before this time, for some reason it doesn't really show up in Persian rugs until the 16th century. And one of the reasons that people speculate that this is that before that time, the Persian art culture was really suppressed because of the invasion from Turkmen and Mongols, and really the art and all the rug weaving designs and art got suppressed, and they weren't trying out new things. So that's just a little bit of interesting history about when floral design actually began. So once the rug weavers started incorporating the flower design into Persian rugs, starting with the 16th century, they started looking at some of the more popular floral designs during the time, such as Shah Abbasi design, which is really common in Persian culture. Also, they started taking rosettes and placing them in the center of the rug and creating the center medallion with it. Also, you'll notice that with floral design Persian rugs, curvilinear patterns are really common with them. So they're going to combine the flowers with curvilinear patterns to kind of have this harmony between the two designs. Another thing to note is that when it comes to the size of the flowers that are being used in floral design, whenever there's a floral medallion design, that's when there's a central medallion in the rug, you're going to find that the flowers are going to be smaller because there's going to be less space to work with. And whenever you have an all-over pattern in a floral design rug, you're typically going to see larger flowers, and the reason for that is that there's more space to use. And we'll be getting into more details about each of those topics of floral design later. So when it comes to interior decor with floral design Persian rugs, these rugs are really attractive, being used as the focal point of the room. You could kind of think of them as the accent wall that's usually used in interior design, and really these type of rugs can work with any kind of room. Now, again, these floral design rugs can be broken down into several categories, but here we're going to be focusing next on the medallion floral rugs and also the all-over floral rugs. So now let's talk about the floral medallion design in Persian rugs. So with this type of design, we have a floral design, but there's a center medallion in the middle of the rug. And this type of design is really, really common in traditional Persian rugs. So these are the rugs that are made in the cities. So for example, Tabriz, Kerman, Sarouk, Kashan, they're often going to have this type of design. And what's really the meaning behind this type of design, so the center medallion represents the lotus flower, and the lotus flower is a sacred flower in Persian rug culture. So the center medallion can be made of one large flower, or it can be made of several flowers put together, several small flowers put together to form one large medallion. Also, you're going to commonly see in medallion floral rugs that there's one center medallion and there's several other medallions around it. So there could be another medallion on top and below and on the sides of the main medallion in the center. Something else to note is also the branches that are typically inside the design for a floral medallion are going to be thinner branches. Same thing with the flowers. You're going to typically see smaller flowers that are being used in this type of design. And when it comes to decorating with floral medallion rugs, you're going to typically see them being used as the central point of the room. So they're going to be centered with either the room, or they're going to be centered with the furniture, or let's say the dining table. So typically they're going to play, because they have a medallion, they're going to be more center and focal point of the room. Now let's talk about floral all over design Persian rugs. So with this type of design, you're going to see a floral motif all over the field of the rug without the center medallion. Typically though, there is an ambiguous center in the rug, so there is some sort of focal point still where everything is centered around, although it might not be obvious. Something to note is that this is really common in traditional Persian rugs again. So you're going to typically see this in Tabriz, Sarouk, Kashan, Mashhad, Isfahan, and Nain, the rugs that are made in cities. So when you look inside the field of the floral all over rugs, you're going to find that the flowers they use are typically going to be larger, again, when it compares to medallion floral rugs. And there's going to be thicker branches, and this is all because they have the entire field to work with because of the lack of the center medallion. Also, all of these flowers, they're usually connected together with a network of vine and leaves and blossoms. You'll also find that there's going to be like different animals and birds inside of the field. And when it comes to decorating with the floral all over rugs, they're pretty flexible because they lack the center medallion, and they could be used in any part of the room, and they don't necessarily need to be centered with anything in the room. So that's something to note about decorating with these types of rugs. Now let's talk about geometrical design Persian rugs. So this type of design is also very popular in Persian rugs. You're going to especially see this in the Persian rugs that are made in villages and tribal Persian rugs. You'll still see these, of course, in the city Persian rugs, but very common in the village and tribal Persian rugs. So for example, you're going to see this in Tabriz, you'll see it in Zanjan, Abade, Qashqai, and Azerbaijan, and those are all kind of more village and tribal rugs. So the geometric design goes back to some of the oldest Persian rugs, so before the floral design. And you're going to see that with this type of design, there's going to be angular shapes, and there's typically going to be ridged lines that enclose the angular shape. And the type of shape, it's very flexible. Any type of shape is possible, so there's no restrictions to it. It could be a hexagon, diamond shape, squares, pretty much any type of shape. And what's really interesting is that a lot of these shapes actually are symbolic, and they represent different life elements and different cultural elements in the Persian culture. And when it comes to decorating with geometrical design Persian rugs, they work really well with modern designs and modern decor. Also, they work really well in the traditional rooms, such as like libraries and offices, where it's a more official and more traditional room. Also, something to note is that geometrical rugs are known to have really strong borders, and so they work really well also in dining rooms where the dining table typically covers the field of the rug and then the borders are exposed. And we're going to be covering the different types of subcategories within geometrical design. So there's a geometrical medallion, there's geometrical Allover, and there's geometrical repeating medallion. So we'll be covering that now. So now let's go over geometric Allover design. So in this type of geometrical design, what you're going to typically see is a geometric shape that is spread all over the field of the rug. The type of shape, the type of pattern could be either repeating pattern, so you're going to have pretty much the same type of shape being repeated over and over in the rug, or you're going to have a continuous pattern where there's going to be a variation in the geometric shapes from one end of the rug to the other. And typically what you're going to see is that the background colors within each of the geometrical shapes are going to be different. Now, this type of design is really popular in Tabriz. You'll also see it in Herati, Azerbaijan, Hamadan, and Karaj rugs. So the next type of design is geometric medallion, which is another subcategory of geometrical rugs. So with this type of design, just like with the floral medallion, you're going to have a large medallion in the center of the rug that's geometrical in this case, and then you're going to have a corner design. So it's going to be geometric center and then some sort of designs in the corner of the field of the rug. And typically you're going to see this in village or tribal Persian rugs. So for example, you'll see them in Hariz, in Abade, in Zanjan, Karaj, and Qashqai Persian rugs. And something to note about this type of design is that the central medallion is the focal point, and what happens is that the rest of the field of the rug, you're going to have a much lighter pattern. And another thing to note is that you'll commonly see a large center medallion, and then on top and below it, you'll also see smaller geometrical medallions. This is pretty common. So like for example, you'll see this in Hariz a lot of times. So the other subcategory of geometrical Persian rugs we're going to be talking about is the geometric with a repeating medallion. And this is where there's at least 2 or more medallions in the rug. You're going to commonly see this in Tabriz, you'll see it in Hariz, and you'll see it in Azerbaijan and Abade rugs. And typically it's going to be in a lot of like village design runner rugs. And the reason this is used in runner rugs is because obviously you're dealing with a really long field, and so it doesn't make a lot of sense to use only one medallion. So what the designers do is that they have the repeating medallion in the rug. Now when it comes to the repeating medallion, although the shape of the medallion could be the same, and usually is the same, you're going to see that the design within the medallion is going to change, and also the background color of the medallion is going to change with each repeating medallion. So now let's talk about Herati Design Persian rugs. So the Herati design is also referred to as fish design, or you'll hear Mahi design, and that's because the design kind of resembles a fish. And by the way, Mahi in Farsi just directly translates to fish. And what you're going to see typically is a diamond shape that's repeated all over the rug. And you'll find that this type of design is pretty common in Tabriz. You'll find it in Sarouk, Mashhad Mood. Also, you'll see it in Bijar and Hamadan. You're typically going to see this, and also Zanjan rugs. So a little bit of history about the word Herati. So the word Herati actually originates from the name Herat, which is the name of a city where this design originally comes from, and the city is in Afghanistan. So just a little bit interesting history about that. And when it comes to the design that you're going to see and the motives you're going to see in Herati, is typically there's going to be a little bit of a floral design or leaves that are going to be placed inside of the diamonds, and this diamond shape is always repeated throughout the rug. And we could break down the Herati design into 2 different categories usually. So you're going to see, just like we did with the floral design and geometrical design, you're going to see that Herati has a medallion design, and that's where there's a center medallion, and the diamond shapes are repeated outside and inside of the medallion. And also you're going to see, of course, Herati Allover design, which is just the repeating diamond shapes throughout the field of the rug. Alright, so this concludes our video on the 3 most common Persian rug designs. So we covered floral, geometrical, and Herati. Now if you want to learn more about these designs, then I invite you to head over to our site catalinarug.com and check out our floral design category and geometrical design, Herati design, where we get into more depth about each of these designs. And you can check out our collection to see all the different options you have for each of these designs. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, then I encourage you to give us a big thumbs up and subscribe and comment below, and I will see you in the next video.